I woke up to my family hovering over me, their voices cutting through the fog of unconsciousness. Through a gap in the broken roof, I could make out their faces, pale, frightened, desperate. My parents, my brothers, and my little sister Xiaomei shaking me with everything she had. That's when it hit me. I wasn't the same person anymore. In my previous life, I'd been a university graduate, smart enough to build a future, foolish enough to trust the wrong woman. She poisoned me. I dragged her off a rooftop with me. That should have been the end of everything. But instead, I woke up here, inside the body of Su Chongxiao, a 6-year-old boy who had spent his entire short life wheezing with a breathing illness. My father, Su Kaishi, looked like a man who had been slowly wrung dry. My mother, Jing Shui, clutched my hand as though she could hold my soul in place through sheer will. I had 2 older brothers, Degui and Yutian, and 1 little sister, Xiaomei. For the first time across either of my lives, I felt what real family warmth actually meant. I'd grown up an orphan before. This was entirely new. But we were desperately poor. Every piece of clothing in the house wore at least 1 patch. My second brother's trousers had a tear so wide you could see his bare thigh through it. I told them I was hungry. Mother brought me a bowl of thin millet porridge muddied with wild vegetables. It smelled like boiled grass. But my brother and sister stood at the edge of the room, quietly swallowing, just watching me eat, so I forced every drop down. Grandfather came by not long after, carrying a small cloth bag of rice, maybe 2 or 3 pounds, mixed with bran. He offered to take me to a doctor in town, but I turned him down. I already knew my family had bled themselves dry trying to keep me alive. That was the very reason my father had broken away from his brothers and relocated us out here, accepting only 5 acres of land instead of the 10 he was rightfully owed. Grandfather didn't linger. If my eldest uncle's wife discovered he'd brought us rice, there would be consequences. Lying in bed, watching my parents move through the dim room, I made a decision. This family needed money, food, and clothes, everything. I had been given a second life. I would not waste it. Then a voice sounded inside my mind, crisp and unbidden. Exchange Mall successfully bound. A luminous screen materialized in my thoughts. An exchange mall, a place where I could purchase goods with silver coins. It stocked everything: rice, meat, cloth, even warriors of various ranks. Actual fighters, fully loyal, available for purchase. So this world had martial cultivators. That was interesting, but it created an immediate and very practical problem. Everything in the mall cost money, and I had none. That evening, Mother made an extra dish to mark my recovery: plain boiled greens, not a drop of oil. The rice in my bowl was the coarse bran-mixed kind Grandfather had brought. It wasn't pleasant, but everyone else was eating thin porridge, so I stayed quiet and passed some of my rice to my siblings. My parents watched and smiled. I asked Father what rice was selling for in town. He said 7 coins a pound, nearly triple the usual price because of a bad harvest. That's when I realized something. The mall sold brown rice for just 2 coins a pound. If I could buy from the mall and sell at market rate, the profit was real. 3 pounds a day would cost 6 coins and bring in 15 coins of profit. Over 400 coins a month. But I was a 6-year-old child without a single coin to his name. Then I remembered the forest behind our village. Mushrooms and wild vegetables grew up there, free for whoever was willing to walk far enough. If I gathered some and sold them in town, I'd have my starting capital. I asked my parents to let me go up the mountain with my brother. Mother worried I was still too weak, so I told her that Scholar Wang had said light exercise after an illness was good for the body. That did it. People here trusted scholars above almost anyone. One word attributed to Scholar Wang carried more weight than 100 of mine. They agreed. I nodded. Like the obedient little boy I absolutely was not. What I was actually planning, only I knew. Our family of 6 shared 3 small rooms. I slept in one with my second brother and little sister. I lay there that night watching them sleep and promised myself I would earn enough money to change all of this. I even dreamed about it. Digging vegetables, selling rice, turning our mud brick house into a proper courtyard with a warrior standing guard at the gate. The next morning, I woke up late. Everyone else was already working. Xiaomei was helping Mother sort vegetables. My brothers were chopping wood. Father was hauling water, with sweat dripping down his face. I felt the sting of being the only idle one. After eating the rice Mother had set aside for me, my second brother, Yutian, and I headed for the mountain. He warned me that the villagers had already picked everything clean up there. I told him I just wanted to stretch my legs after so many days in bed. On the way, we ran into our cousins. Lishan, from our eldest uncle's family, made a pointed remark about how my illness had dragged the whole family down. Yutian snapped back that I was better now and kept walking ahead. I caught Lishan grumbling behind us that if it weren't for me, the family wouldn't be so poor that cousin Lishi could have been studying if the money hadn't gone toward my treatments. Lishan was the only child in the extended family who got to attend Scholar Wang's lessons, paid for by his mother. That made him someone nobody crossed lightly. Yutian and I walked further than most villagers ever bothered to go. He kept warning me about wolves if we pushed too deep, so we searched the nearby area carefully. We got lucky. Mushrooms, ferns, about 2 pounds of wild vegetables, filling the basket halfway. Yutian was excited. He said we'd saved a whole person's share of grain. That's when I made my move. I told him that people in town paid good money for wild mountain food, more than grain was worth actually. Scholar Wang had mentioned it. Yutian wanted to run straight home and tell father, but I talked him out of it. Father and mother were buried in farm work. Going to town would cost them half a day they couldn't afford to lose. And besides, I asked him, would they be happier if we brought home these vegetables or a full bag of rice? He looked at me with curiosity. So what do? We sell them ourselves. Yutian agreed on the spot and patted my head, calling me clever. He was still a child. Convincing him wasn't hard. We walked an hour to Huaqing town. My legs were shaking by the time we arrived. It was my first time there, and everything pulled at my attention. Sugar figures being molded by street vendors, the smell of fresh pancakes, stalls overflowing with goods of every kind. Yutian had been twice before, so he played tour guide. We found a spot near the other vegetable sellers and set our basket on the ground. Nobody stopped at first. I told Yutian he needed to call out to people, like the other vendors. He tried, and soon enough, an old woman came shuffling over. When she asked the price, my honest brother told her to name one herself. I groaned internally. He was practically handing her a knife to cut us with. She offered 15 coins for the whole basket. Before either of us could respond, another voice cut in. I'll pay 25. I looked up and saw a girl, maybe 16 or 17, tall and poised, with smooth skin and bright, attentive eyes. Her name was Luoling. She scolded the old woman flatly for trying to cheat children, then dropped 25 coins directly into my hand, not Yutian's. She said my face was more agreeable to look at. Poor Yutian stood to the side, looking deeply put out. Luoling asked where we'd found the vegetables, and told us that if we ever had more, we should bring them to Swallow Alley, the largest house there was, hers. She seemed taken with me, remarking that I was quite handsome up close. I gave her my most disarming smile and introduced the two of us. After she left, Yutian counted the coins with barely contained excitement. 25 coins could buy 3 pounds of rice, with 4 left over. I told him I was starving, and asked if we could spend 4 of them on 2 buns. I needed him gone for a few minutes. He frowned. 2 coins per bun was steep, but I begged just enough, and he gave in. I sent him off to buy them, and finally had a moment alone. I focused my mind, spent 6 coins through them all, and 3 pounds of brown rice materialized quietly in my storage space. The mall even let me hold items there until I needed them, like a pocket that existed only in my head. I took out the rice and went looking for a buyer. That same old woman from before was making her way toward a nearby grain shop. Perfect. Someone who loved a bargain and asked few questions. I ran up to her with my most guileless expression and offered 3 pounds of brown rice at 6 coins a pound, 1 coin below market price. When she asked where a child had come by grain, I told her my aunt had fallen ill and my grandfather wanted to sell the rice cheaply as a pious deed to earn good fortune for the family. She believed it, but then tried to grind me down to 3 coins a pound. I gave her a look that said she was embarrassing herself and held firm. She caved. 18 coins. Now I had 33. I bought 3 pounds of Northeast rice from the mall for 15, far better quality than anything our family could normally afford, and came away with 18 coins still in hand. Yutian returned and spotted the rice immediately. His eyes went wide. It was too clean and white for what our money should have bought. I told him the grain shop owner had apparently run off with his wife's sister, so the family was clearing out their stock cheap. He believed every word and got excited, saying the rice was worth at least 13 coins a pound. We hurried home before dark. Father scolded us for being late. Mother said the fresh air had done me good. When Yutian proudly produced the rice, the whole family gathered around it in stunned silence. He told them everything: the wild vegetables, the 25 coins, the clearance sale at the grain shop. Everyone looked slightly suspicious. 2 pounds of vegetables fetching 25 coins. A grain shop selling cheap because the owner eloped. I stood there looking innocent. That night, I knew my parents were whispering about it. They weren't as easy to fool as Yutian, but I wasn't particularly worried. Strange things would keep happening around me, and I figured it was better to let my family adjust to it gradually, one small surprise at a time. That evening, I insisted the whole family eat proper steamed rice with rice soup. Since Yutian and I had earned it, no one argued. I also broke apart the 2 buns into small pieces so everyone could have a taste. It was a warm meal, and I savored every moment of it. Then I asked about my sister-in-law, Jung Chun-ni. I hadn't seen her once since waking up. My big brother went quiet. Father explained carefully when the illness had drained the family's money and the food ran out. Her parents couldn't bear watching her suffer alongside us, and they had taken her home. Because of me, again. I clenched my hands under the table and said nothing. But I made a silent promise. I would earn enough that this family would never have to worry again. I told everyone we should bring sister-in-law back. Big brother's eyes came alive. Father worried that the Jean family wouldn't agree. I said that as long as we had money and food, they wouldn't stand in her way. Father admitted that was probably true. Her parents just loved her too much to leave her hungry. Then let's go make money, I said. Everyone stared at me like I'd lost my mind. But I already had a plan. I asked if anyone had ever seen a transparent egg golden, almost see-through. Father reached over and felt my forehead to check if I was feverish. I told him I'd overheard someone in town describing a method from the southern regions for making a special kind of egg. In my previous life, I knew the recipe for preserved eggs. I'd already checked nobody in this world made them yet. I had other ideas too. Soap. Improved housing. But those were too conspicuous. In a place where powerful people could simply take whatever they wanted, anything too impressive was a liability before you had the strength to protect it. Preserved eggs were safer, a humble snack. Even if someone stole the recipe, we wouldn't lose much, and the profit margin was low enough that nobody powerful would bother coveting it. When Mother said it was all empty talk without knowing the actual recipe, I told them I knew it. Everyone went still. A 6-year-old with a secret recipe. I said I'd listened carefully to people chatting in town. 100 eggs, 3 pounds of quicklime, some salt, cypress branches, rice husks, and plant ash. Once I laid out the specifics, their skepticism began to crack. Father decided we'd test it, with 10 eggs first, only 20 coins at risk. We couldn't gamble our last 100 coins on grain when we needed it for food, but we couldn't ignore a real opportunity either. Meanwhile, in a fine house on Swallow Alley, Lulu Alang was serving the wild vegetables to her father. He praised them warmly, saying he'd sent servants to search half the county without finding any. She told him she'd bought them from a 6-year-old boy in Xi'an village. The next morning, Father carried me on his back for part of the journey to town, which cut the travel time considerably. We bought 10 eggs for 20 coins. On the way, I quietly purchased another 3 pounds of rice through the mall. In town, I told Father I needed to use the bathroom and slipped into a side alley to find the old woman again. Same story, sick aunt, grandfather selling cheap for good fortune. She bought 3 pounds for 18 coins, gently mocking me the entire time. I jogged back to Father with 30 coins in my pocket. At home, everything was prepared and waiting. Pine branches, plant ash, quicklime. The doors were shut tight. Little Xiaomei was stationed in the yard as lookout. A money-making recipe had to be guarded. Following the method I carried in memory from my previous life, the family boiled quicklime together with plant ash and salt water, let it cool, mixed it with wheat bran and rice husks, coated each egg carefully, and sealed them all into a jar. Father carried the jar to a cool corner of the room and stacked stones around it like it held something sacred. And in a way, it did. That jar held all of our hopes. I told them to wait 7 days. Big brother could barely contain himself, saying that once it worked, they could finally bring his wife home. That night, I slipped into the kitchen. I bought a pound of fine rice through the mall and poured it into the family's grain jar, then blended it with the rice from the day before and the coarser bran rice so the difference wouldn't be obvious. Mother found it the next morning and told my brothers at breakfast that their little brother had been sharing his good rice with everyone, They all promised they'd always look out for me. I felt the warmth of it, and with it, the weight of responsibility pressing down harder. Over the next 7 days, I bought 11 more pounds of coarse rice through them all, spending nearly everything I had until only 3 coins remained. I kept slipping rice into the kitchen jar in small amounts. Mother noticed the supply seemed to stretch longer than usual, but she put it down to faulty memory rather than anything suspicious. Then the day came. The gate was latched. Xiao Mei sent outside. The 5 of us circled the jar. Should we open it? Open it. Maybe wait 2 more days. Open it now. Father's hands were visibly sweating. He took a breath, gripped the lid, and lifted it. No golden light, no dramatic reveal, just a faint, strange smell drifting out. He peeled 1 egg with steady hands, and there it was, pale yellow, translucent, with a smooth surface that caught the light, exactly as I remembered from my past life. We had done it. Father cut the egg into 6 pieces so everyone could have a taste. The reactions were scattered, strange, but not unpleasant, surprisingly good. The last piece vanished before I even got to mine. But we all agreed. People would buy this. I suggested calling it an amber egg rather than a preserved egg. It sounded refined. Wealthy customers respond to elegant names. Everyone agreed. For pricing, I said 5 coins each, making one cost roughly 3 coins, so the profit was modest but real. Not so expensive that ordinary people couldn't try one occasionally, but accessible enough that well-off households could eat them regularly. And the margin was thin enough that nobody powerful would feel it was worth muscling in on. Father approved. He wrapped the 9 remaining eggs carefully in straw, and the 3 of us, Father, Big Brother, and I, headed to town. Big Brother called out to draw a crowd while Father peeled 1 egg and held it up. People gathered quickly, amazed by how clear and glossy it looked. A few complained that 5 coins was steep when regular eggs sold for 2. I jumped in and said Father had even hurt himself during the process, which was technically true, since he'd cut his hand slicing one open to share. It worked. A handful of people bought. Within an hour we'd sold 5, but most passers-by just looked. Times were hard. People thought twice about every coin. I picked up the basket with the remaining eggs, and told Father I was going to find the girl from before. Before he could stop me, I was already running toward Swallow Alley. A maid named Xiao answered the door. I told her I was the vegetable boy from Xi'an village. She hollered for her mistress so loudly it startled me sideways. Lu Luoling came rushing out in a silver-embroidered dress, then caught herself at the doorway and slowed to a composed walk. When she saw it was really me, she asked if she could pinch my cheeks. No one else was around, so she dropped the formal act entirely. I leaned forward and let her. A customer is like a god after all. Once she'd had her fill of fussing over me, I showed her the amber eggs. She took a peeled one, studied it from several angles, then popped the whole thing into her mouth before I could say a word about the price. Bits of egg escaped while she talked. I did my best not to stare. She said she'd take them all. She paid 20 coins for 4 eggs, then ordered 20 more. I asked for a 50-coin deposit on the spot. She called me a little money grubber and pinched my cheeks again. Since I'd just secured 50 coins, I didn't particularly mind. After leaving her house, I bought 20 eggs from the mall at 1 coin each and 3 more pounds of rice, then sold 11 pounds of brown rice to the old woman for 66 coins. My total came to 133 coins. I ran back to Father and Big Brother, handed over 20 coins to account for the 4 eggs I'd sold, and showed them the 20 eggs Luoling had given us toward the next order. Big Brother was practically vibrating. 60 more coins incoming, and the sooner the money came in, the sooner his wife could come home. We bought more eggs and salt and headed back. That night, we held a proper family meeting. Father said the business had real legs. I told everyone we needed to focus on wealthier customers. Ordinary people simply couldn't spend 5 coins on a single egg with any regularity. I suggested approaching restaurants. Big Brother seized on the idea immediately. Father agreed. We'd finish this batch and visit them one by one. That night, we converted everything into amber eggs and started the 7-day wait. Meanwhile, the family rice jar seemed to have developed a mysterious inability to empty. Eventually, everyone just accepted eating full meals every day without asking too many questions about it. When the amber eggs were ready, Father, Big Brother, and I went back to town. I insisted on delivering Luoling's order alone. I told Father it wasn't proper for men to visit a young woman unannounced. The truth was, I needed to protect my secrets. Luoling told me her father had thoroughly enjoyed the amber eggs with his morning porridge and wanted to share them with his colleagues. She placed a standing order 20 eggs every 10 days. Steady, reliable income, exactly the kind I wanted. She pinched my cheeks once more before I left. I collected 100 coins in total from the Lu family. Then I brought 10 pounds of brown rice to the old woman. This time she mentioned she couldn't eat it all herself and offered to resell it at 5 coins a pound. That was fine with me. The rice side business was fading into the background now that the amber egg trade was running properly. I came back with another 10 pounds. She took it without questions, just smiled. After all the buying and selling, I had 142 coins remaining. I bought 20 more eggs from the mall and told father that Luoling had sold us 60 eggs cheaply, 1.5 coins each, instead of the usual 2. I felt guilty framing it that way, but I needed an explanation for where the eggs were coming from. Father said that since Luoling was being so generous, we should only charge her cost price for amber eggs going forward. Farmers have their pride. Without realizing it, Luoling had become our official egg supplier, at least in my family's understanding of things. We visited the Drunken Immortal restaurant first. The chef made 2 dishes using the amber eggs, and the manager ordered 10 per day. Then, we went to the Delight restaurant. When I mentioned their rival had already signed on, they ordered 10 a day as well. A couple of small taverns followed. We sold 47 eggs in total, and cleared over 90 coins in profit. Back home, we poured nearly 200 coins onto the table. The whole family stared at the pile, in silence. Big brother tried to calculate the monthly earnings, and got tangled up, so I helped. 1,800 coins from restaurants alone. With the extras, roughly 2,000 coins a month. 2 taels of silver. Mother turned away and wiped her eyes. Between the mall's discounted eggs and rice, I was also quietly clearing about 570 coins a month on the side. Things were finally moving. The next day, I took Yutian into town. Father had given us 20 coins to buy pork, but I quietly bought a pound from the mall for 10. That evening, we had scrambled eggs and boiled pork belly on the table. The younger ones couldn't stop staring at the dishes. Mother's eyes grew bright. She scooped a portion into a bowl and sent Yutian to bring it to our grandparents. Even when things were going better, you didn't forget the elders. At the old family house, grandfather was startled to see meat and eggs arriving at his door. He tried to send it back, insisting I needed it more after my illness. Yutian told him there was plenty at home, waved cheerfully, and ran back. There was pork belly waiting. After he left, the whispers started. Eldest uncle's wife, Mrs. Wang, couldn't make sense of it. Just days ago, her son Lishan had spotted us foraging wild vegetables on the mountain. Now we had meat on the table. Her eyes were already working through the possibilities, turning over every angle to figure out what had changed and what she might be owed because of it. She was the one who had pushed to split the family in the first place so my illness wouldn't drag them down. If we were now doing better than her, she would not take that quietly. Half the pork belly had gone to our grandparents. Only a few small pieces remained on our table. Nobody reached for them. Father and mother held back. Big brother held back for us younger children. Yutian and Xiaomei just stared, mouths visibly watering. I couldn't watch it anymore. I stood up, picked up pieces with my chopsticks, and set one in every bowl before taking my own. Father nodded and told them we'd have plenty of chances for meat now. Only then did Yutian and Xiaomei dig in. "It's so good," Yutian said, looking like a man who had glimpsed paradise. I chewed my piece slowly. First meat since arriving in this world. I nearly cried. Father called me the family's lucky star.